All right, welcome back, eighth graders. We're going to do 4.5 again, and this time we're going to focus in on example 3. Remember, in examples 1 and 2, we spent our time focusing on identifying direct variations. We did that from equations here in example 1. In example 2, we did it from ordered pairs to see if we could figure it out. And now we're ready to move on to example 3, where we're going to write and solve direct variation equations. So I'm actually going to go through this a couple of times. So this video may be actually a little bit longer than normal. Okay, this is our question. The value of y varies directly with x, and y equals 6 when x equals 12. Find y when x equals 27. There's a number of ways to do this, and we're going to talk about 2 ways today. And I want to focus in on these words right here, varies directly. Now, hopefully those 2 words, even though they're out of order, that you recognize that they are asking you to work out a direct variation problem, even though they inverted the word and said varies directly. I believe that's going to show up on your algebra state test at the end of the year. They're going to use wording like that, and you will need to recognize, oh, this is a direct variation problem. Because it's a direct variation problem, we can do method 1, which is y equals kx. Let's just do the equation. We're going to find the value of k, and there's a couple of ways even to do that. And then we're going to write the official equation. And I meant to then write an equation. So just mark out that D there, okay? All right, so they gave us some information, and then we need to find more information once we're done. So this is going to be a multi-step kind of process. The first thing we need to do in this particular method is we're just going to figure out what k is. Now, in the last video, I showed you the easiest way to find k, all right? And that is to use your ratio y over x. So if you take your given information, this is what we know is true, and we plug it in here to the y over x, we're going to have 6 over 12, which reduces to 1/2. Now that we know what k is, we can actually write an equation. We can write our equation y equals 1/2 x. And there's our equation. Now we're not finished because this part is what we're after. Find y when x equals 27. So they gave us what to plug in for x so we can find y. So I'm going to bring my work over here, just kind of dump it underneath that, and instead of writing x, I'm going to plug in 27. So in essence, what they're asking me to do is find half of 27. That's what it says. And when you do that, you can plug it into your calculator as 0.5 times 27, and hopefully you're probably 10 times faster than I am. You figured out that that's 13.5, and that's what we're after. That's what we're after. We want to find y when x equals 27. This is how you do it with an equation. This is one way to do it. This honestly is not my favorite way. I would solve it differently, and my way would be using a proportion. Okay? Remember what we talked about in that last example. We said that ratio y over x should be consistent in all of the points on that particular direct variation involved in that direct variation. So they should actually equal each other. The constant of variation, the k's, the y over x's, they should equal each other. Now let's look at what they gave us. They told us y is 6, x is 12. So that's one set of information that we know goes together. And then what is y when x is 27? You could make a proportion out of that and solve for y that way. So let's give that a try. Let's do 6 over 12, so there's that first information, and we're going to set that equal to y over 27. Now, if you have your calculator, pull that out, and we're going to cross multiply. whenever you have a proportion, you cross multiply. So we'll end up with 12y equals 6 times 27. Take a second and calculate that and see what you get. Did you get 162? Good. That is great. You should have gotten 162. And then solve for y. Just divide each side by 12. And did you get y equaling 13.5? That's great. That's what we're after. And hopefully you can see from my example, the method 2, I like it 10 times better. But if that doesn't resonate with you for whatever reason, use method 1. Figure out the k, get your equation, and then plug in for what you do know to find what you don't know. Okay? Now, because this is so difficult, flip to that next page. We're going to try this example again, but with different numbers. Okay? And I'm going to do both methods again to make sure that you know how to do this. So method 1 is we're doing the equation. Remember, our hint is it varies directly, so here's the equation. If it varies directly, it's a direct variation. And they gave us some information. This is very important information right here. And so we're going to be able to calculate our constant of variation by doing y over x. So we're going to have 4.5 divided by 0.5, okay? So take a second in your calculator and calculate what 4.5 divided by 0.5 is, and then write that out here beside it. If you said 9, you did a great job. That's exactly what it is. It should be equal to 9. Now you can write your equation. Here it is, y equals 9x. And then let's bring it over here because we have one more thing we need to plug in. They told us, hey, well, if x is 10, what would y be? What would y equal if we plugged in x is 10? So let's see what happens. We have 9 times 10, and we get 90. And so that missing y that we were looking for should equal 90. Again, I'll reiterate, not my favorite strategy, but it's okay. All right, love the proportion. So I'm going to do the proportion. Love this the most. And let's see what happens. All right, so we're going to do y over x. So that's going to be 4.5 over half. And that's going to equal, well, I don't know what y is, but I know that its x is 10. So if you cross multiply, we have 0.5 y is equal to 4.5 times 10, that's 45. And then lastly, divide each side by 0.5. Okay, so in your calculator, very quickly, punch it in. Do 45 divided by 0.5. It should be a number bigger than 45 because you're splitting 45 into 1/2 increments. And how many is that total? And if you said 90, you're exactly right. Okay, so we're going to stop here. If you have any questions, please bring them to class.